Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm going to share with you some freight broker cold calling tips, but most importantly, I'm going to share with you the number one phrase that is certain to turn shippers away. Okay. I'm going to share with you a phrase that I hear a lot of salespeople, a lot of freight brokers, a lot of freight agents using as a part of their cold outreach, as a part of their freight broker cold calling to shippers. And it's, in my opinion, it's a huge, huge mistake. All right. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why. First, I'm going to share it with you. Then I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you shouldn't be saying this on your freight broker sales call. So, welcome. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dennis Brown. Been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Built 4 multi-million-dollar companies in 4 different industries. So I've been very, very blessed. I've also had plenty of failures along the way. So trust me, I've had my share. One of the last businesses I built was a freight brokerage. Started that in 2003. Went on to do over $80 million a year in sales with that business before I sold it. And I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker and freight agent training program available. All right, so you can check that out if you're curious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent. And we do offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee if for any reason you're not happy. So again, we've had over 10,000 students go through that. Check that out if you're curious. But today, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you some freight broker cold calling tips, but I had this topic on my list to talk about for quite a while now, but for some reason I just hadn't found time to jump into it. So I'm going to share with you the number one phrase that is virtually guaranteed to turn shippers away. All right. So before we do that, hit me up in the comments. Let me know the city and state you're logging in from while we get some people live. And then we're going to jump into the training. Here's the agenda. I'm going to do some shout outs. We're then going to do the training. Then I'm going to do a giveaway. Maybe I'll give away another Freightpreneur t-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. And then at the end, we're going to do live Q&A. Okay. So if you stick around to the end, we will do live Q&A. You can ask your questions in the chat box and I will do my absolute best to answer those questions or maybe just point you in the right direction. Okay. All right, cool. So here's my notes for today. There's a lot to go over, but before we do that, let's do some shout outs. Who do you got here? Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, 2023. Amazing. Blows my mind. Anthony Castro joining us from Florida. We've got Robin from Iowa. We've got Alvin from Mississippi. We got Old Young from Arizona, Muffalo, Arizona. We got Misa from Chicago, Illinois. We got Marla from Alabama, Sean from Harker Heights, Texas. We've got Matt McCall from Orlando, Adrian from Long Beach, James Baxter from Lexington, South Carolina. Ooh, I just skipped here. Oh, OP Nation from Ethan, Nevada, Fat Mike from Louisville, Kentucky, Noah from Rayford, North Carolina. Happy New Year. Blakely Friend from Phoenix, Arizona, Cyrus from Madison, Ingrid from LA, California. Miso, Happy New Year to you. D. Estrella from Yonkers, New York. And Costly Profit from Florida. Sailman from Manitoba, Canada. Nelson and Cruz from New Jersey. Anna Klavensky from Louisville, Kentucky. Anna, welcome. Tanisha from Indianapolis, Indiana. Man, we got people from all over the place. So thank you so much for being here. I'm humbled. It's very kind that you take time out of your busy schedule. I hope you enjoy today's trainings. And before we get started, notice there was no price of admission here. I didn't ask you for a credit card. You didn't have to. It costs you zero money to be a part of these lives, whether you're a member of Boot Camp or you're just a member of my community. So here's the only thing I would ask of you right now. Do me a huge favor. Number one, like the stream, no matter where you're watching it. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever it is, hit the like button right now. Okay. If you want me to come back week after week after week, make sure you hit that like button. All right. Secondly, share the stream. Share it. Share it on your social media. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram. Share it, text it to 3 of your friends. Do me a favor and share the stream. Let other people know about these free trainings. Truly appreciate it. And again, I'll continue to do these free trainings as long as you guys engage and are really happy with the training. So, all right, cool. So I think we've went through some of the formalities. Again, the format is going to be, I'm going to do the training. It'll be relatively short. Then I'm going to do a giveaway of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Then I'm going to go into live Q&A. All right. So let me grab a quick drink. And then while you guys are getting live, and then we will dive in. All right. Okay. So we got a lot of notes. Let me just review these really quick. This is a really important topic because it's just a mistake that I see a lot of people making. It's very correctable, very easy to fix. That's the cool part. All right. So for those of you that are catching this on replay, I love my replay folks. Make sure you hit me up in the comments with hashtag replay. I'd love to hear from you. If there's any first timers, people that this is your first live stream with me, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you are already a Freight Broker Bootcamp student, okay, someone who's already taken my course or is taking my course, let me know in the comments if you're already a student. Again, I love to know who my people are. Truly appreciate it. So let's get the show on the road. Today, I'm going to share with you some freight broker cold calling tips. But most importantly, I'm going to share with you the number one phrase that will turn shippers away when you are doing cold calling outreach to your prospects. All right. So if that's something that you think is important, if you're struggling with cold calling, if you're struggling with getting shippers and you're having a hard time getting that first customer, or for whatever reason, it's just not working for you, this is probably a mistake that you're making or have made, and I'm going to help you correct it today, okay? So here's the phrase that you need to stop saying at all costs. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time, or some facsimile of that, like, is now a bad time? So it's very common in sales. You hear this phrase all the time. You hear this question all the time at the very beginning of a sales call. Hi, Joe. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time, but. Okay, so you need to eliminate that from your vocabulary. Just get rid of it. And I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think that is a huge mistake and you need to get rid of it. Okay, number 1 is you are stating the glaringly obvious. Yes, they are busy. Okay, they're absolutely busy. There's no question. You know, there's never a good time for an interruption. So you're trying to say to them that, okay, is it a good time for me to interrupt you right now? The fact is, it's never a good time to be interrupted. All right. You have to understand, busy people do not have time to answer obvious questions. Okay. Useless questions. It almost insults their professionalism. It almost is an insult to them for you to ask that question. Okay. So you're stating the obvious. That's number 1. All right. It's unnecessary. Number 2 reason, you're making the prospect think about their workload. You're emphasizing the fact to them that they are actually very busy. They have a full agenda and they don't have time for this activity right now. Okay. So you're reminding them of how busy they are. Needless to say, a packed agenda is not a good place for you to direct your buyer's focus, right? When you're trying to earn or steal a minute or 2 of their time, reminding them of how busy they are is a huge mistake, in my opinion. That's number 2. All right. Number 3, everyone else asks the same question. So you immediately sound just like everybody else. And the first thing that goes through the buyer's head or the person on the other end of the phone is, oh boy, it's another salesperson. I wonder how quickly I can get rid of this one. Okay. So because you sound like everybody else, they're going to treat you like everybody else. Okay. You've heard me say it before. Different is better than better. You need to be and sound and act different than every other salesperson that's calling them. And it's not that hard. One of the first ways you can do it is to eliminate that from your vocabulary. Hope I didn't catch you at a bad time, or is now a bad time. Get rid of that. That's got to go. Okay. So that's number 3. Everyone's asking that question. Number 4, you're wasting the opportunity. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the fact is they picked up the phone. They knowingly, consciously picked up the phone. All right. If they didn't have time to talk, at least for a minute or a short bit, they wouldn't have picked up the phone. But the fact is, if you say that, again, you're reminding them of how busy they are. Here's the reality. they're willing to accept an interruption at this time because they've picked up the phone, but it has to be worthwhile. It has to be warranted. It has to be compelling. But if you ask the same terrible questions and you sound exactly the same as everybody else, the automatic answer is going to be no. All right. So what you got to understand is you're wasting the opportunity. Understand the psychology of this. If they did not have time, they wouldn't pick up the phone. Trust me, people that are super busy don't pick up the phone. They let it go to voicemail or they let it ring. If they're tied up in a project that's really important and if there's a deadline, they're not going to pick up the phone. That's when you get the voicemail. But when they do pick it up, what you have to understand is that is your opportunity to shine. So don't sound like everybody else. Don't ask a dumb question. And understand that if you are compelling, if you are interesting, if it's worthwhile, they will accept the unplanned interruption. Okay? So that's number 4. And number 5, by saying this, it broadcasts insecurity, particularly in new or younger or less experienced salespeople. What I see salespeople using this as is a crutch to allow them to not engage in the sales call. Because if they ask that question, the majority of the time, they're going to get a no answer. Or, is this a bad time? Yeah, it's a terrible time. I'm really busy. I don't have time for this. Okay. So if you ask that question as a new salesperson, number one, it portrays insecurity. It broadcasts insecurity. And I find a lot of new salespeople using it as a crutch, as an easy way to get off the phone, as an excuse to get off the phone, as an excuse not to engage in a full-blown sales conversation. Okay. What you guys have to understand is the first 5 to 15 seconds of any cold call is critical. Okay. It is precious time. You can't waste that time by asking dumb questions, by asking questions that you already know the answer to. Those 5 reasons I gave you, don't ask that question. Don't ask, is it a bad time? Or did I catch you at a bad time? Those are questions that are inherently a waste of time. So what you have to understand is you have to figure out a way to be compelling. You have to figure out a way to be different. I've talked about this many times as a part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. That's the 5-week coaching program where I take that piece of my brain all about freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system. And I transfer it into your head in a 5-week coaching program. It's sold out right now. You can't get enrolled. It'll probably open up sometime during Q1. But if you want to, there'll be a link on the screen here where you can join the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. I think it's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Okay. And so you can join that. But here's the thing. One of the most important parts of that program is early in the program in module 1, where you learn how to create a compelling sales hook. A hook that, number 1, is relevant and contextual to the prospect. Number 2, it's something they've probably never heard before, right? And is different, and it's compelling, and it draws them in. It will be that exception to the rule where they will allow you to interrupt them. They will engage you. But again, if you're wasting the early parts of this call asking that dumb question, you're never going to get to that point, because the majority of the time, they're going to tell you they're busy and they don't have time, call back another time, or they're just going to hang up the phone on you. So again, learning the fundamentals of how to create a compelling opening, how to have a good conversation starter is really, really important. And again, that's a big part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. Let me give you a simple example. I'll give you one example just so you guys understand. Let's say, for example, Joe Smith was your prospect. He works for XYZ Manufacturing. And before the call, you took 2 or 3 minutes to gather some sales intelligence. And you went on his LinkedIn profile, and you had noticed that he had recently published some content about the fact on LinkedIn that company had just launched a new product. They had just launched a new widget. Okay. And they were now selling this widget and they were very excited about it. It was a big product release. There've been millions of dollars spent on developing and launching the product. And he just posted this recently, and you saw that he had posted that about his company. What could you use as a compelling sales hook to, number one, sound different, number three, sound relevant, and number four, get his or her attention? Well, use that piece of sales intelligence that I just gave you, that you just found on his profile or on his company website or wherever you found it, and generate a quick and compelling sales hook. For example, you might say, hey, Joe, my name's Dennis. Hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, and I saw that you guys just recently launched a brand new product in the widget category. Number one, I wanted to say congrats. Number two, I've worked with other companies in that industry, and what I've noticed is, and I was curious about your take on that or how that's impacting you. Do you see how that's different? Do you see how he's never heard that before? Do you see how that becomes very contextual and relevant to him? That's a perfect example of how to garner their attention, how to earn their attention, how to want them to want to talk to you, how to have a real two-way conversation, a conversation starter and a sales hook that literally will outperform the average freight broker sales call 10-1. And again, the core foundation of this is, I don't want to get into a big, long, drawn-out training on this, but the fact is, you need to figure out a way to get rid of that as a part of your opening. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Is this a bad time? You need to get rid of that. It's very ineffective. I gave you 5 reasons why. If you guys are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Been in business over a decade, trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you want to get in on the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. You can join up on the wait list. Again, it sells out every time. It's not a free program. It's an investment of your time, energy, resources, and money. But it will be worth 10 or 20 times whatever you pay for it, whatever the investment is. Check it out. You can get enrolled there. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I do these Freight Broker Bootcamp lives every Monday at noon. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next Monday at noon. Now, for those of you that are still here, stick around. Don't disappear. Don't disappear, because number 2, I've got a giveaway. I'm going to do a giveaway. Number 3, I'm going to do live Q&A. Okay? So stick around. But what I would love to hear from you right now before we dive into that is, did what I said just make sense? Is it relevant to you? Does it make sense? And on a scale of 1 to 10, right, how would you rate the importance or the value of this training to you? Did I provide the value that you expected when you clicked the link and joined this live? Okay. Give me a 1 to 10. Let me know how you guys feel about the topic itself, the delivery, and the value that you pulled from it. Because again, I'm looking for feedback from you. I'm always trying to improve these lives. I'm always trying to come up with different angles that will help you to launch and grow a highly profitable freight brokerage. Okay. And I think this is a mistake that I see people making a lot. And so, all right, cool. All right. So we got some good feedback. Makes sense. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9.5. And if I didn't deliver and I'm a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me what I could do differently. Give me your opinion. I love constructive feedback. I mean, if you just want to be a jerk, be a jerk. But I mean, I love constructive feedback. Okay. All right, cool. So we got some good feedback. Most important out of this, I don't need my ego placated, but I do want you to remove that from your vocabulary. When you're doing an outreach to a prospect, just remember those 5 reasons why I gave you shouldn't be using. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. There are some sales trainers out there that preach this. They think you should ask for the prospect's time. Me personally, I don't agree. I don't waste my time asking them if it's a bad time, or is this a good time, or I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Any version of that is a waste of time. Okay. All right, cool. So good feedback. Thank you so much. All right. All right, cool. So let's jump into the giveaway. All right. So listen carefully. Here's what you got to do. if you want a chance to win the Freightpreneur t-shirt, number one, you got to be in the United States because I don't ship these overseas. I've said that many, many times before, but I want to let you know up front. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp YouTube page. I'm going to pull it up here in a second. YouTube.com/Freight Brokers, or if you're on YouTube, you can search Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll see my bald, shiny head. What I want you to do is I want you to subscribe and click the all notification bell. That means you'll get notified of all the new free training videos that I put on that channel. Right now, I think there's over 130 free training videos that are on that channel that I've accumulated over the last decade or more. So you can check that out, but make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and then the all notification bell. And I want you to come back into the comments in this stream, and I want you to let me know. Subscribe to YouTube and click the all notification bell. You got to say both of those things. Subscribed on YouTube and I click the all notification bell. Both of those things have to be true, and you have to type those in the comments in order to be eligible to possibly win the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Okay. All right. So do that. Nope. Again, you can't say done. You got to say subscribed, click the all notification bell on YouTube. If you don't say that, done doesn't do it. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm very particular about that because when I come back in, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to randomly pick one person. And if you just say done, I don't know what you mean by done. All right. So you got to, just like OP Nation, subscribed on YouTube and click the all notifications. Perfect. You are now eligible to possibly win the free t-shirt, which I'll ship out to you. You'll get in the next week to 2 weeks. Super simple. All right. I've given away hundreds of these shirts, by the way. And for those of you that are going to ask, I don't sell them. Okay. I was going to like a year ago and I just didn't have the time, and I got frustrated with the whole process of setting up the stupid store for doing it. And I just didn't do it. So the only way you can get them right now is to win them. All right. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you click the all notifications bell, come back in here. I'm going to give you about another minute or two to do that. And then stick around because we are going to do a live Q&A. It's only going to take a couple minutes for this giveaway. Then we're going to do live Q&A. So if you have questions about today's training, about cold calling, about getting shippers, about starting up as a freight broker or a freight agent, any of those questions you have related to that, I'll do my absolute best to try to answer those questions on the live today. So stick with me through this giveaway. We've got a bunch of people that are subscribing on YouTube. Thank you. We're getting very close to the 50,000 mark. Okay. I think we're at 49,000 and change. Where are we on here? Let me see. Let me see where we are on here as far as subscribers beforehand. As of right now, and this is probably some of the people that have already subscribed, we have, let's see. See exactly what we got here. I think it's 49,500 and change. We're almost at 50,000, which was the goal for me to hit before the end of the year, but we didn't hit it. So right now we're at 49,579 subscribers. So we're just over 400 subscribers away from 50,000, which will be a huge milestone for us. Really appreciate you guys tuning in on the YouTube channel. There's tons of training there. There's tons of success interviews from past students. So I'd highly recommend you guys check that out. All right. So you got 30 seconds to subscribe and click the all notifications bell. And again, this is an honor system. Make sure you do that. Again, I don't want to call you out if you do win, and then all of a sudden you'd be really embarrassed if you can't prove that you're subscribed. So just do me that favor. It'll take you literally 60 seconds. Subscribe and hit the all notifications bell. Come back in here, hit me up in the comments, let me know, and then you will be eligible for the giveaway, which I'm going to be doing in the next 30 seconds. All right. Milan, no, I don't ship it to Europe. I only ship United States for this type of giveaway. I need to do some other giveaways that'll apply to other people. Sometimes I'll do a cash giveaway. Today we won't have time, but maybe next time I'll do a cash giveaway. When I do a cash giveaway, it's usually 50 or $100. And then I PayPal that money, or I can Venmo or PayPal that money typically. So yeah. Well, actually, I don't Venmo it. I PayPal it. Thank you, Robin, for sharing the live. Awesome. I don't ship to anywhere but the United States. Okay. You want just shirt and not cash. All right, cool. I get it. Awesome. All right. So listen, I'm going to do the giveaway. Let me scroll up and find the list of everybody who's subscribed. Hang with me for another 60 seconds and we're going to jump into the live Q&A. All right. So I'm going to scroll through, close my eyes, point my mouse at one random user, and the random user is Malik Stewart. Subscribed on YouTube and click the all notification bell. Amazing. He did it perfect. Congratulations. You are the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Here's all you got to do to claim your prize. Go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Okay? Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Like the page, and then message me your full name, your mailing address, your size, and these are unisex sizings, so they're pretty true to size, and then that you won the YouTube subscribe t-shirt giveaway. Okay. So your full name, your address, your size, and the fact that you won the YouTube subscribe t-shirt giveaway. If you do that, we'll send the shirt out to you. You get it within a week or two. Thank you so much, Malik, for playing along. Everybody else who subscribed, there's no losers because there are tons of videos on there. You can binge watch those videos very, very quickly. Just go to the channel. There's playlists that are specifically geared towards sales. There's playlists that are geared towards student success stories of the past. There's playlists towards mindset. There's all kinds of different playlists you guys can check out. So thank you everybody for subscribing. Malik, congratulations for winning. Shoot me your mailing information and we will get that out to you. Okay. All right. Let's jump into the live Q&A. All right. So hit me up in the comments right now. Here's one thing I know for sure. If you have a question, be very specific and concise. Okay. But I won't get to everybody's questions today. I'll get to as many as I can in the time allotted, and then maybe I'll be able to come back in later in the week and answer some of the other questions in the thread or private message you. But if not, come back next week and ask the question. Typically, the surefire way to get your question asked is to be one of the first to ask the question. All right, so what do we got here? Okay, so here's a question from Blakely Friend. What are some hook ideas for companies that don't have any updates or new developments? Sometimes companies don't have much info online. Okay, good question. Totally legit question. First, gathering sales intelligence, the three primary sources are company's website, Google, searching for the company, Google searching for industry updates or industry news, and three is LinkedIn. Okay, so let's assume you went to the company website and there's nothing really new. The two areas that I would go to is I would go to Google and I would search for industry news or news directly related to their industry or their product. Okay, and I would find something that's very new, very contextual, very relevant, and I would create a sales hook out of that. So let's say, for example, there was another company that acquired one of their large competitors acquired another company in that space. You could use that as a sales hook. Let's say, for example, there was a trade show that's going on inside the industry. You could use that as a sales hook. Let's say there was some new federal legislation that was passed around their industry, regulating or deregulating their industry. Typically not deregulating, because that's not what the government does, but that all being aside. So you could use industry information as a sales hook, even though it's not specific to their company. That's number one. That's a whole bunch of things you could find on Google. Okay. Number two, you could go to their LinkedIn profile. So go to their LinkedIn profile, and maybe they're not posting new content there. Maybe they're not sharing updates. Maybe they're not engaging a lot, but they may be engaging with other people's content. So for example, if it's Joe Smith and he's a shipping manager for XYZ, and you go on his profile and you see that he's been engaging with content from somebody else in the industry or in logistics or in shipping or in warehousing or wherever it is, and he was engaging and asked a compelling question or had a dialogue about a topic that somebody else posted, okay? So he's what I call an engager. Then you could use that as a starting point for a dialogue, right? You could use the whole, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn, or I saw you on LinkedIn. You were having a conversation with ABC about this. And I thought it was really interesting, and you could use that as a sales hook. The other thing you could use is sales intelligence that's a part of his profile. For example, his work history, his educational history, the geography where he lives. You could use influencers that he follows, publications that he reads, right? There's all kinds of things on a profile itself that you could use as sales intelligence. Now, not all sales intelligence that you gather that I've mentioned here in this question, the answer, are equal, right? Some is better than others, but some is better than none. Even if this is the highest value sales intelligence that allows you to create the best hook, and this is the lowest value sales intelligence that still allows you to create a relevant sales hook, it's better to take the low value sales intelligence than to not use any sales intelligence at all. The higher the value, the better the sales intelligence, the more relevant, the more contextual, and the better the results will typically be, statistically speaking. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I gave you a couple different ideas and sources where you could go and find sales intelligence, even if they're not doing updates or there's not any big news about the company or big news about the prospect themselves. So I hope that helps, Blakely. Old Young says, is asking the question, is now a good time, similar to asking, I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time? Yeah, they're the same. They're the same question, just slightly packaged differently. Don't ask either one of those. Yeah. Don't ask, is now a good time, or did I catch you at a bad time? Anything like that is a bad way to start the conversation for the 5 reasons that I shared with you. Okay, so Miso asks, when prospecting on LinkedIn, how do you follow up once the shipper accepts your connection request? Okay, well, Miso, what I would strongly suggest is you get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, okay? Because in that, number one, we teach exactly how to do this, but just as important, we actually have last time we offered a bonus called the No Cold Calling for Freight Brokers system, which is where I used LinkedIn and social selling to generate over $20 million in annual recurring revenue. That's my No Cold Calling course. It's a social selling and LinkedIn marketing course. So that's what you're asking is relevant to that. But if you guys want to be a part of the next cohort, the next group of students to go through that, I limit it to about 100 people and it sells out really fast. You got to get on the wait list. Okay. So that's number one. Okay. But the answer to your question, how do you respond or how do you follow up with, let me find it. How do you follow up with someone after they've accepted your connection requests? Well, here's what you don't do. You don't beat them over the head with your pitch. You don't ask them to get on a phone call. You don't beg them for lanes that you can quote. Those are things you don't do. Okay. So number one, get that out of your head. Get all that out of your head. What you have to understand about using LinkedIn and social media to sell is you got to slow down the process. Okay. You can't come in swinging. If you come in, they're going to feel the heat. They're going to back off and they're going to ghost you and you'll probably never hear from them. So you got to slow things down. So an example of a simple example is just simply to thank them and then ask an interesting question that's not salesy. Use your sales hook as a way to start a dialogue. So you could just thank them and tell them you look forward to engaging with them down the road or connecting with them further. That's a simple way to do it. It creates another touch point. You're starting to build rapport. You're automatically differentiating yourselves because more than half of the people that connect with them are just going to come in with a right hook and try to sell them right away. So you're automatically differentiating yourself that way. What I like to do is I like to thank them for connecting and then ask an interesting and compelling question that's tied back to some sort of a sales hook that's relevant to them. Now, do you understand and do you hear me saying this over and over again? Sales hook, sales hook, sales hook. This is the thing that none of you take time to do. It's one of the primary reasons and one of the biggest steps you have to take when you are as a part of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. Listen, you have to be different. You have to, whether it's the first 5 to 15 seconds of a phone call, or it's the first impression that someone's going to get from you after you send them a message, you can't unring that bell. So if you sound like everybody else and you sound like a salesperson, you're beating them over the head with your pitch, it's an automatic loss. You're never going to recover from that. You have to take your time. So I hope those tips helped a little bit, Miso. But there is no one size fits all answer to that, by the way, okay? Adrian, just go to my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Freight Brokers. Okay, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, click the all notification bell, and then in the search bar under my videos, not the generic YouTube search bar, but under my videos, you can search for carrier setup pack, shipper setup pack, and I do an entire free training where I walk through that whole thing. Okay, so you can check that out on my YouTube. It's absolutely free. Okay, so Alvin asks, I'm a driver now, starting my brokerage, and while I'm in the office, in the shipping office, picking up my BOLs, what should my hook line to the shipper office personnel be? Okay, so you have to come up with your compelling hook. I can't develop your compelling hook, right? But use the same frameworks that I've been talking about. Use some sales intelligence. Now, you have sales intelligence that not every person, not every freight broker walking down the street has. You know their product. You know their pickup location. You know their delivery location. So if you can use that information as a sales hook to develop rapport and to start a conversation and the beginnings of a relationship, you're head and shoulders above the crowd, right? This sales hook has nothing to do with selling. It has nothing to do with pitching. It has nothing to do with closing or begging for rates or opportunities to get a rate request or a rate quote. Okay, that's not what this is about. This is about differentiating yourself, building rapport, making a good first impression, and having an opportunity after that to have another conversation. So while I can't sit here and create your sales hook because I don't know you, I don't know your niche, I don't know the shippers, I don't know your experience, I don't know any of that. I can't do that for you right here. Okay. I could definitely teach you and help you with that if you were a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, because that's what I do. It's a 5-week coaching program, right? Where I coach you for 5 weeks on exactly how to do all that and to implement it in your business. But right now, what I'm going to tell you is use the knowledge that you gain as a driver in general. Use the knowledge that you've gained as a driver in servicing that shipper, and use Google and LinkedIn and their company website to gather some sales intelligence and create a compelling sales hook. And again, there is no one size fits all sales hook that's going to work for every prospect. Doesn't work that way. You will probably need, I would say you'd probably want at least 3 to 5 different sales hooks that were specifically designed, or frameworks of a sales hook that were specifically designed for the industry that you're niching down in, as well as you'd want to be able to create sales hooks on the fly from the sales intelligence that you're gathering, press releases, industry news, content that you're finding on their LinkedIn on their LinkedIn profile or on their website. It's not overly complicated, but once you do it the first time, it just gets that much easier. Okay. So I hope that helps, Alvin. I get lanes, but clients do not approve the rates. Could you advise on this? Well, there's only a couple things that are going wrong. The number one reason why shippers do not do business with you or someone as a broker or an agent isn't rates. It's not rates. We can sit and throw down and argue about this till we're both blue in the face. It's not rates. It's one word. It's trust. They don't trust you enough. Remember, as a part of the sales process, it goes know, like, trust. Okay? First, they have to know you. That's what the cold call is for. The second part of the cold call is if you can get them to like you. But on that cold call, they're rarely going to trust you. So the trust is going to come over multiple touch points and you following through and delivering on the things you say. So here's an example of what I've seen people do before. They've said, oh, hey, Mr. Shipper, we can save you money on your freight rates. And then the shipper says, okay, great. Here's some lanes you can quote. And then you quote the lanes and your price is significantly, even a little bit higher or significantly higher than their existing rate. And of course, because you said you could save them money, they no longer trust you because you didn't deliver. Make sense? I mean, that's an example. I mean, there's probably hundreds of examples, but that's one example of how they don't trust you enough. All right. So the other thing I would point to, it's not rates, it's trust. The other thing I would point to is if you are finding that your rates are much higher, or you're always losing on rate, or they're telling you, oh, Dennis, you're 30% higher than our best rate, or Dennis, you're 25% higher than our best rate. You have to focus in on learning how to rate better. Your rates are off. You have to use the dynamic market and understand how to create supply and demand spot rates. And the way you do that, what I would tell you is go to my YouTube channel, search for how to do a freight quote or generate freight rates. And I do an entire training on that. It's free on my YouTube channel. But ultimately, you can't use rating tools exclusively like the DAT or truck stop rating tools. You have to use those as well as use the data that you gather from carriers that are moving those lanes, but you actually have to know how to negotiate those rates, because you can't go into a carrier and say, hey, what do you want to move a flatbed load from Buffalo to Atlanta? His first answer is going to be like, oh yeah, I want $3.50 a mile for all miles. Of course, that's what he wants. That doesn't mean that's what he's going to get. That doesn't mean that's what the market will demand, because again, rates are determined not by shippers, not by brokers, not by carriers. They're determined by supply and demand. If there's more trucks than there is loads, then rates go down. If there are more loads than there are trucks, then rates go up. If they're even, then rates stay pretty stable. Okay. So understand that fundamental, understand that paradigm. Okay. That basic flow of how that works. And so you need to better understand rating. Here's the thing. It's easy to be the most expensive. It's easy to be the cheapest. It's much harder to find that sweet spot, because here's the reality. If they're willing to talk to you about their needs as a shipper, and you're not pushing the entire conversation towards rates, right? If you're focused on rates, they're going to focus on rates. If you focus on value and service, then they're going to focus on value and service. All right. And if not, they're not going to give you a chance to quote them, which is fine. You don't need to quote everybody. You don't want to do business with shippers that are exclusively focused on rate. But if they're focused on service and value and relationships, then that's the type of relationship that you're looking for to have as a long-term shipper. So ultimately, you need to hone in on how to find that sweet spot. And that sweet spot is something where maybe they're already paying $1,000 on that lane all in, but you could probably get away with $1,050 or $1,100 or maybe $1,150 because of the trust and the value that you're providing above and beyond the current provider. Because here's the reality. If they're allowing you to quote on that lane and it's not exclusively based on rate, okay, then that means there's an issue, there's a challenge, there's a crack in the door. There's an opportunity for you to earn their business, but you can't come in 20 or 30% higher. That's not going to work, right? Unless you can offer 20 or 30% more value, which if you can justify that and you can demonstrate that and you can verbalize that and help them understand that, great, then quote that. But otherwise, you're going to have to be relatively close to their rate, but you don't need to be the cheapest. You got to understand the difference of $50 to $100 in profit on a lane is a third to half of the normal broker profit on a load. If a broker is making 10 to 20% on a load, okay, and the lane is $1,000 lane, that's $100 to $200. So if you're $50 more or $50 less, that literally is almost a quarter to half of your profit on a lane. So the reality is you have to think in a little smaller dollar values, but you have to watch that video on YouTube. It will walk you through the exact process of how to use the lane, use the rating technology, how to post and talk to carriers, how to find carriers that are running those lanes, and then have conversations with them and really negotiate that spot market rate so you know what the real buy rate should be. And then from there, you add your markup and you present it the best you can, right? I mean, sometimes you're going to be the cheapest without even trying, and you can still make good money. Other times you're going to be right there with where they're at. And sometimes you're going to be a little bit higher, but that's why they call it sales. You have to sell that value. Okay. So I hope that helps. But I think trust is probably one of the biggest issues why it's not rates. Okay. So Nunu Hudson asks, how do I get my brokerage factorable with big factoring companies? Well, the two things that factoring, some companies don't do business with new brokers and some companies do, right? For example, Denim, which used to be Axle Payments, we've had a lot of new students that have went through them. They're a big company. They're well-financed. They've been around. They've got great technology. That's DENIM. I think they used to be called Axle Payments. So they're a big company that you could use for factoring as a startup. But if you're looking for other companies, larger companies that have been around for 10 or 20 years that do factoring, maybe have a little bigger brand name, then what you're going to want to do, the only thing you can do there is the more business you do as a broker, the more likely they are to want to factor your receivables. The reason why some of the largest companies don't want to deal with startups is because the volume is so low. And what they found is, like everybody knows, a lot of startups fail. What is it? 30% of startups, I think only 67% of startups get past 2 years and only 50% of startups get past 5 years, right? So they know that if 50% of the startups aren't going to make it to 5 years, they don't want to spend all the time and energy and resources trying to bring those customers on and do all the relationship building and integrating the technology and developing all that if they're not going to have a long relationship with that shipper. And some of the business owners are going to go out of, now this isn't necessarily freight brokers, but these are business owners in general, entrepreneurs in general, So I think that's why some of the larger companies don't want to do business with startups. But if you're not a startup and you're already doing revenue, you've got shippers and you can prove that, most factoring companies will accept you. The more volume you have, the better the rates will typically be. Okay. And the more volume you have, the more bidders, the more competition you will have in the factoring space for your business. So I hope that helps. The question is, what does volatile freight rates mean? Okay. Volatile freight rates means this. I mean, I'm hoping I'm interpreting the question. Volatile freight rates means like any volatility in a market. The stock market, when the stock market is volatile, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. It's very volatile. Okay. And with freight rates, it's the same thing. When you have volatility in the freight rates, it means that there's something that's disrupting the supply chain. Maybe it's the price of oil just went up to $100 a barrel and now diesel is $7 a gallon. That's something that creates volatility because the rates go up. Some carriers park their trucks, so the supply of trucks goes down and it causes some disruption and volatility in the market. Okay. Sometimes, fuel goes down, right? And more trucks come on the road. So there's more competition from the trucks for those loads. And if there's not an increase in the number of loads, then now rates will go down. So there's volatility based on external sources, right? And so volatility just means there's a lot of up and down throughout any cycle, right? Now, having less volatility means that there's going to be smaller ups and downs. There's always going to be these ups and downs, but if you have a big curve up and down, that's volatile. If you have small bumps in the road, that's just normal market dynamics. Okay? So I hope that helps. Justin asks, is RGN too small of a niche? So only focusing on RGN equipment. No, I don't think that's too small of a niche. I don't think that's too small of a niche. I think it's probably too big of a niche. I would like to see you narrow that down geographically, right, to some specific regions. My example, when I first started, I started with van freight, Northeast outbound. Okay. So if it went on a van and it picked up in New York, PA, New Jersey, all the way up through New England and went west or south, that was my niche. But if I would have just picked vans, right, it would have been way too big of a market because I would have had to have serviced every point to every point all the time. And it would have been very difficult for me to understand and become an expert in rating or capacity. It would have been very hard for me to develop relationships and carriers in all those lanes. But because I limited it geographically, I was able to become an expert in capacity, rates, and developing relationships with not only shippers, but carriers where I could become that intermediary and make the match and put a margin in there and make money. And so if you're doing just focused on RGN, I would probably like to see, you could always expand that into, what RGNs really move, right? You're going to have to make a list of the type of products, the type of things that RGNs move. But a lot of times you're talking about heavy equipment, oversized and overdimensional freight, things of that nature, right? So, you could expand from RGN into maybe oversized, overdimensional, which would also include some other types of equipment, but it depends on you. I don't think RGN is too small. I think it's too big on its own. I would like to see you add some geography to that so that you could narrow down. You could always expand that geography later. Okay? Hope that helps. Okay, Just Truckin' asks, what's the average margin for a new brokerage? I don't know the average margin for a new brokerage because those numbers are never publicized, but I can tell you the average margin for freight brokerage in full truckload. Full truckload typically runs somewhere between 10 and 20%. That means if they're invoicing the shipper $1,000, they're paying the carrier somewhere between $800 and $900, which gives them $100 to $200 in profit. If we kind of middle that out, it's around 15% for full truckload. Okay. So, and that will go up as the dollar value goes up, and eventually that percentage margin will go down because, again, you might not make 15% on a $5,000 load. You might only make 10% or 8% on a $5,000 load. But there are more loads that fall in the range of 1,000 to 3,000 than there are the loads that fall in a range of 5,000 to 10,000. So dollar cost averaging it out, you're looking at 10 to 20% of the value to the shipper of profit, with full truckload probably on average falling somewhere at around 15%. Okay. Anthony asks, what's the most effective way to get a solid email for a traffic manager? The most effective way is to use some sort of tools like Lucia, Hunter.io. I think there's some other ones like Apollo. These are pay tools. These are tools where you have to pay a subscription. They're called a SaaS product. They're typically like a software as a service type online SaaS product. They're either a Chrome plugin or there's some sort of a website where you can go and you can type in the domain name, you can type in the company name, you can type in You can look at the person's LinkedIn profile, and it's going to give you some additional sales data that it will layer on above and beyond that profile. A lot of times you'll be able to get the email, you'll be able to get the phone number from those types of tools. So yeah, the ones that I'm aware of, Lucia is a good one. I think another one is hunter.io. That's another great place to get emails. There are tons of them out there, okay? There are tons of them out there where you can gather emails, but they're usually pay-to-play type programs. They may give you some free trials or some free ways to demo it, but eventually, if you're going to use it in any volume, it's a subscription product. But they're not super expensive, okay? They're not super expensive. Think about the value of one shipper. If all you do in the next 30 days is use those tools to land one small shipper, and the average profit on that load, let's say, is $200 profit per load, and you're only moving one load per month, that's $10,000 a year in profit in your pocket. The software might cost you $50 a month, $100 a month, a couple $100 a month. So the reality is, was it worth the investment? Absolutely. But it's only worth the investment if you're using it to actually convert that data into sales, right? So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Naeli asks, how can I find shippers in California, specifically reefer customers? Well, you need to identify the industries that use reefers. Produce is one. Anything that's perishable, meat, cheese, eggs, a lot of food, right? Perishable, anything that's perishable food. So I need to identify those industries. Go on Google. One way to do it is just go on Google and search for those industries based on the geography, based on the city or the state or the region. Or you can go and you can purchase access to a tool like Zoom Info, or I think Sales Genie, or different types of tools where they allow you to search and identify leads, company data, company information. Or if you're a member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, you get a free database that you can search, and you just search by California, you can search by industry, and then that'll pull up a whole list of prospects that you can contact. Now, specific to reefer, again, they're not going to identify themselves as reefer shippers, but the industries that they're in and the products that they ship are going to define the type of equipment that they use, right? If you're doing bottled water, that typically goes in a van. If you're doing strawberries, that goes in a reefer, right? So you need to figure out, based on the industry and product, who uses reefers, search for them in the geography. If you're a part of Freight Broker Bootcamp, you get access to that database of 100,000 plus shippers that you can go through and you can search, and you can start there, as well as other sources online. So I hope that helps. All right, guys, let me see. What time is it? Oh boy, I got to go. All right, cool. Listen, guys, sorry I'm not going to get to everybody's questions today. I hope I helped out. Do me a huge favor. If you enjoyed the training, if you want me to come back and do another training with another Freight Broker, with another live Q&A at the end, okay, like I did today, like, comment, and most importantly, share. Like and then share the stream. Let me know that you did that in the comments. Truly appreciate it. I remember everybody's face and names as they come in, especially when they engage and they share the stream. Truly appreciate it. Maybe I'll bump you up on getting those questions answered in a future one. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you're struggling because you're finding some information on YouTube, you're finding some information on Google, this guy's saying this and this guy's saying that, and you're looking for a roadmap from somebody who's done over $200 million as a freight broker, who's trained over 10,000 students, right? And offers a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee, no questions asked. In the first 60 days, if you're not happy, we'll give your money back. No problem. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Again, you'll get instant access. As soon as you enroll, you'll get instant access to the training and our online support. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome week. Congratulations. Happy New Year. We all made it to 2023. Now let's turn that into starting and growing a highly profitable freight brokerage this year. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next week on another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks all.